Good evening, everybody, or good early morning. It is just after midnight, and the Ohio State Buckeyes are the Sugar Bowl champions, rolling over Clemson to advance to the national championship game against Alabama. Justin Holbrook joining me right now for some post-game analysis as we wait for Coach Ryan Day to come out, as well as Justin Fields to give their post-game press conference. What a game, Justin. You can tell lots of screaming. You weren't in the same area as me, but you can tell by my voice I'm a little bit hoarse right now.
You can tell from Ryan Day, too. He lost his voice after this one.
Yeah, super emotional post-game interview.
Yeah.
Just a really amazing game to watch for the Buckeyes tonight.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, what a way to avenge last year's loss. I know how heartbreaking that was for all the players that came back this year. I mean, it was on their mind, that score 29-23. They thought about that for more than a year now. And finally, they got to play Clemson again. And man, did they ever take advantage. I mean, just dominating the Tigers from start to finish in basically all phases of the game. But we have to start with Justin Fields, right? I mean, the dude is unreal. Takes a shot to the ribs. Yes. Oh, just, I mean, the toughness, the grit to come back from a shot like that. He said to Tom Rinaldi after the game and on ESPN, he said, my ribs were just killing me the whole game, but I played through it. I had to. And he not just played through it, he played phenomenally. 385 yards, 22 of 28 passing, and a Sugar Bowl record 6 touchdowns. Jeez. It's just unreal what he can do.
It was absolutely amazing. Just such a tough guy. I mean, we all audibly gasped when he took that hit to the ribs,
yes.
Missed one play, came back out to complete a touchdown pass.
Yeah.
Just amazing. He stuck a pad up the back of his shirt and then finished the game like it was nothing. But it was not nothing. Guy is in definite pain. If you ever taken a fall on the ground even, let alone a helmet from a 200-some pound tackle or whatever the guy's position was, just what a tough guy.
Yeah, and it was a huge moment in the game, too, because that's their middle linebacker, the heart of their defense, and he got called for a targeting.
Yeah.
It was textbook. It wasn't to the head like we're used to, but the crown of his head did come down, and he hit Fields like that. So, I mean, it's a textbook call. Maybe you're not used to seeing it because usually it's head on head, and that was really a momentum swing in the game. It's kind of very similar to what we saw last year when Sean Wade got called for targeting. That one on Sean was much more questionable than this one. I think this one was a pretty clear targeting call. Yeah. And it's just phenomenal what Fields could do coming back from that. And like I said, just having a whale of a game. 385 yards, 6 touchdowns, Sugar Bowl record. And that's against a Clemson defense that's top 10 in basically every category.
National championship.
Well, yeah, they went to the national championship last year.
Excuse me, yes.
Yeah, but obviously Clemson has been there before. I mean, this is the third time in 5 years that Ohio State has played Clemson.
Yeah.
Ohio State had never beat Clemson until tonight, and now they have their first win ever against the Tigers, and it's for a spot in the national championship. Their first time back since the 14-15 season.
So right now I've got the Zoom conference up for the post-game press conference, and it must be very close to a locker room because I can hear music, I can hear cheering. I heard Carmen a little bit ago. I did the OHIO at the end. Justin was probably thinking I'm a loser. Just super exciting.
I think a lot of people are.
Clemson's defense definitely struggled all game, but then like you said, the turning point really was losing their biggest factor, and just Ohio State just really dominating, coming back out. Didn't get that touchdown that they wanted, almost did, but really just dominating the rest of the game. Just a fantastic showing by Ohio State. A lot of people are saying, and I agree, reminds them of the 2014 season when a lot of people said they didn't deserve to be there. They
counted them out. Yeah, didn't deserve to be there. You heard all of this talk going into the game. Dabo Swinney, Ohio State, ranked number 11th in his coaches poll. They have no business of being in the college football playoff, and they showed everybody, including Clemson, that they not only deserve to be here, but could, in fact, beat Alabama in the national championship.
Dabo's eating a lot of crow tonight. He said a lot of things, He's only got 6 games to study, ranking them number 11, really just going in on the Buckeyes. And was that the smartest thing for him to do, knowing how that motivates teams like that?
Maybe not, but I don't think it had it didn't have an impact on the outcome of the game. But I will say that he said one thing that was true all week, which he said, even though I didn't rank them in the top 10, they are very capable of beating us, and they did do that.
Yeah.
So give him credit for being partially right.
I mean, partially right, but I mean, just an amazing showing by them tonight, and I guess he didn't study those 6 games hard enough.
And let's give credit to Ohio State's offensive line and Trey Sermon. I mean, we talked about Fields and what he did, and it was incredible, but this is a team that basically ran at will against Clemson. They had more than 250 yards rushing. They averaged that this season, but they had not faced a defense like Clemson's all year long, and they were still able to do what they've done all year, which is run the football right down teams' throats. Trey Sermon almost had 200 yards after setting a record 331 against Northwestern. So this is an offensive line that showed that they can not only hang with the big boys, basically just push them around when they want to.
Exactly. Just I can't say it enough. It was just a pleasure to watch as an Ohio State fan.
No doubt.
From start to finish there, really.
The start was a little shaky there. Clemson scored pretty quick, and you were like,
they did ping pong back and forth. Sorry, I blocked that out of my head already.
But let's give credit to Ohio State's defense, right? I mean, they gave up 2 touchdowns on the first 3 possessions, and it was like, we might have a shootout. We were looking at a 50-point ball game for both teams. But then they settled down, 3 straight 3-and-outs for the rest of the first half, and then they came back in the second half, only allowed 2 touchdowns after giving up 2 in the first quarter, and that's a solid adjustment that Kerry Combs and the Ohio State defense made, because that is not or offense of Clemson to take lightly. I mean, that's a top-tier offense with Trevor Lawrence, who's going to go number 1 overall in the NFL, and they basically just bodied him all game. They pressured him. They made him uncomfortable. Yes, he had 400 yards, but it didn't really feel like that, and probably the most significant part was that Travis Etienne, the ACC's all-time leading rusher, only had 42 yards rushing. And last year, he had 40. So Ohio State's defense can stop the run.
Amazing job by the defense there. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, top contender for every quarterback award.
Yes.
Heisman, he's going to likely still go number 1 in the draft, but just Ohio State defense really just shutting him down and just controlling him, especially towards the end of the game. It seems like he couldn't do anything.
No, and Ohio State's defense finally settled down after going early. That was, a bit of struggles. But, I mean, and you have to remember that Justin Fields has always been compared to Trevor Lawrence ever since they started playing high school football. The two grew up about 30 minutes apart in Georgia, and Trevor was always number 1 and Fields was always number 2. Trevor was the first to start in college. Justin had to go transfer to Ohio State to find a new home. Trevor was the first to win a national championship, and he's going to be the first in the NFL draft. But tonight was Justin Fields' crowning moment, and that was beating Clemson, something that no Ohio State quarterback has ever done. And this is going to be a huge part of Fields' legacy when he leaves Ohio State.
You know what? I even forgot about his thumb sprain that he had wrapped up there. Justin just seemed a little bit different to me. He seemed really focused.
He did.
He seemed like, you know what, Trevor? I mean, maybe not. I'm sure they're great friends, but it seemed like he just really wanted to say, hey, I'm Justin. You're not number 1 all of the time. I'm here as well.
Yeah.
And he really did show up for that. Just kind of doing things that you guys had talked about before with Coach Conley and Jared and you had talked about him just being smart and throwing the ball, away and out of bounds whenever he knew he couldn't, scramble for yardage or, have an open receiver. It just seemed like he was just really smart and really focused. And despite the injuries, came in with a hand injury and then with the ribs right in the middle of the game. It just an amazing performance by him, and I'm really excited. If you guys are just joining us right now, we are doing some post-game wrap-up here. We are waiting for Ohio State head coach Ryan Day to come out to give his press conference. He will be first up. He'll speak for about 10 or 15 minutes or so, field some questions, and then he'll be followed up by Justin Fields, who will be directly after him. So excited to hear from those guys. If you are watching right now, we really appreciate it. Staying up late with us right now. Leave in the comments where you're watching from, and if you guys have any questions that you want to have answered, you think we can get them done, drop those in the comments as well. I'm reading them on the NBC4 Facebook page here.
And Christina, we talked about Justin Fields. Let's talk about some other players that really shined tonight. The tight end group of Luke Farrell and Jeremy Ruckert. They had 66 yards in the first half and 3 touchdowns. And then once they pivoted, we went to the wide receivers. In the second half, Chris Olave had 2 touchdowns, more than 100 yards. Garrett Wilson had a great game. Jamison Williams had a big touchdown. I mean, all of this was made possible by Justin Fields and his ability to read what was happening and make decisions on the fly. And he didn't pressure himself too much. He was poised, he was comfortable, and he didn't try to do too much. He tried that against Indiana and Northwestern. He had 5 picks, total in those games. So I think he learned from that. He said, you know what, coming into this, I can't put too much pressure on myself or try to force something that's not there. The one interception he did have, it was tipped at the line of scrimmage and picked off. So it doesn't really count in my book. There was just a good play on the defensive line front. So if you look at this from an Ohio State perspective, Justin Fields played probably the best game he's played of his career when it comes to the moment and answering the call.
I know we were worried about still a few people out. We don't know if it's due to COVID or due to injuries or something like that, but it didn't seem like it made that big of an impact. I'm wondering if we'll have them back for that January 11th game. It'll definitely all depend on the timetable. It's about, it'll be a week out from Monday, so about 9 or 10 days that they'll be in Miami for that national championship game.
Yeah, and if you're wondering who those are, Harry Miller, the starting left guard. You have Zach Harrison at defensive end, and you also had Master Teague. Not sure if those are COVID related, so wait to see what those turn out to be. Master Teague was injured in the Big Ten championship, but Trey Sermon looks more comfortable as the go-to back as opposed to two backs going at the same time and splitting the carries. He seems more comfortable being the guy, and he's proven it. I mean, a total of more than 500 yards in the past 2 games.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like he can get in a better rhythm for himself rather than going in and out with Master Teague.
No doubt.
I wonder if that will impact the decision-making on how that is going to go if he is available for the national championship game.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout-out to the guys on Ohio State's defense. I know they've been questioned this season, especially the secondary. And there were moments that the secondary didn't play well, but the other position groups in that defense really deserve a huge portion of credit for this win, because without the pressure that Ohio State's defense got on Trevor Lawrence, I don't know if this game is, as far apart as it is. I think we have a much closer game, but that being said, Ohio State was not able to only get pressure, but also force the ball out of his hand. They had 3 strip sacks, 2 were recovered by Clemson, 1 by Ohio State, but it clearly bothered Trevor Lawrence. He didn't get the time that he wanted in the pocket, and that showed because it just looked a little uncomfortable, something that we're not used to seeing Trevor Lawrence. And that all goes to Ohio State's defensive front and the guys at linebacker like Baron Browning and Pete Werner. Those guys played phenomenally. Justin Hilliard. I mean, the list goes on and on, but they were well prepped. So give Kerry Combs a lot of that credit.
Absolutely. He got a lot of shout outs this evening from the well, I don't even want to say up top. Herbie was on Zoom. So the commentators of this game gave Combs a lot of props, and deservedly so, no because doubt. That defense, it was a high scoring game on both ends, but it didn't seem like, yes, Clemson obviously got those 2 touchdowns very quickly, as did Ohio State, but after that, it just did not seem like Clemson could do much of anything. Really,
no. I mean, they were able to throw the ball 400 yards, that's not nothing, but still, it didn't amount to really anything when it came down to it, because Ohio State's offense was so good, they just couldn't keep up. And let's look at the fact that Justin Fields had a 56-yard touchdown to Chris Olave and then a 45-yard touchdown to Jamison Williams. That just put the game out of reach. Clemson has a good offense, but they couldn't keep up with Ohio State's. And Christine, I'm curious to ask you this too, because knowing the heartbreak that Ohio State had last year, I was there on the field, and you could just tell how demoralizing that defeat was for Ohio State. I mean, the locker room, everything, they were just speechless. No one had a response for what had just happened. What do you think this moment is like for them and for Buckeye fans to finally beat Clemson?
For all of those young men who decided to come back this year, it was for this moment right now. I think it was. And from the beginning of the season, for fighting, and, they had that score posted everywhere.
Yeah.
I think this was the moment that everybody was waiting for. The players, the fans, the parents. It was really, really nice, because for whatever reason, I feel like Clemson, and they like to play, woe is me, we're Clemson, nobody expects us to do anything. But no, you're a really good team. You're consistently in the playoffs. Yeah. You consistently beat amazing teams like Ohio State,
Notre Dame.
Yep. It just feels really good, just because I feel like Clemson is a really feel-good team to beat for Ohio State. I don't know.
Imagine this.
Alabama will feel better, though. Alabama will feel better.
Yeah, and that'll be tomorrow. Tonight, it's just a celebration. But
Absolutely.
Imagine the relief and the satisfaction that guys like Chris Olave, who, turned the wrong way, interception, game over. Guys like Sean Wade, who missed the whole second half because of targeting.
Yeah.
Guys like Justin Fields, who wanted to make up for the way that game ended last year. All those guys coming back, wanting this. We won a season. The hashtag, starting the petition, all the players' families being part of that. Randy Wade, Sean's dad, being a huge part of that. And finally, they got to have a season, and all of it, I think it all kind of came down to this game. I know we said winning the Big Ten was important, and it was a reason for, celebrating a little bit, but this was really what Ohio State wanted.
No, this feels a lot better,
yes,
obviously,
very much
than
a national championship will feel even better.
Absolutely, it will. This is kind of coming full circle. As far as Justin, we obviously have one more game to go, but as far as Justin Fields' leadership this season, him starting that petition and really being a voice for college football players to get out there, especially in the Big Ten, once it was uncertain that they would not be playing, and then him to come around in this semifinal game and just be the leader that I feel like everybody looks at him as, and he really just lived up to that and just was so tough and such an amazing leader for the Buckeyes, especially the offense tonight.
Yeah, and he's not a Heisman finalist, and it's tough to be when you only had 6 games this year. He had a couple struggles, but I think he will go down as the best quarterback all time at Ohio State. Remember, this is a guy that's only lost one game, and that was to Clemson last year, a game that they very much could have won. So you're looking at a guy going into this Alabama national championship that has one loss in his career. He's going to be the most accurate passer by far in OSU history. If he had more games this year, I think he's a Heisman finalist and maybe even the Heisman Trophy winner. But you're looking at a guy that's going to go down as one of, if not the best, Ohio State quarterbacks of all time. And I think that will be true whether or not they beat Alabama. But still, it's just a huge moment for him and getting to have the season.
Well, I very much remember the last time we played Alabama, and I also very much enjoyed it. So I'm hoping for a repeat
lot of people do.
of that. Oh, that was a wonderful moment.
And that's the good news, right? They were counted out in that game.
Oh my gosh.
In late 2014.
I mean, even more so than they were this year, I think. I mean, I feel like a small fraction of people were like, they only played 6 games, kind of.
Yeah.
But I feel like their legacy and what they did last year and who they were in this college football playoff era, I think less people were like, Ohio State should be here. But
and that's because you had Cardale.
Of course.
Third string.
Oh, yeah.
Is a third string quarterback coming in. So, I mean, it was just.
Third string first place.
That's right.
Again, it sounds like we are hearing a lot of celebrating going on right now. We are waiting right now for head coach Ryan Day to come out and give his post-game press conference on Zoom. We will carry that in full for you guys live. He will be followed by Justin Fields, who was he the offensive MVP of the game?
If it wasn't him, and it should have been, then maybe Trey Sermon, but it was probably Justin Fields.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say when you break a Sugar Bowl record, you're probably the MVP.
I've been kind of looking around while we've been talking, but we'll hear from Ryan Day and Justin Fields. We are waiting for that right now. If you're just joining us, welcome. Thank you for staying up late with us. Good thing it's a weekend. Normally these games don't fall too much on a weekend, so we appreciate you being here with us, and we see all of your comments. I really appreciate it, except all of you haters out there. I don't appreciate you, but you keep commenting because that's engagement, and that makes more people see this video. So comment away.
I mean, there are a lot of haters for Ohio State being in the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. I'm used to it.
Probably a good thing.
I don't mind. I'm allowed to say that. I'm not I always have to remind people I'm not a sports journalist. I'm just moderating, and I've never said that I'm not biased for the Buckeyes. I am an alum, and it's not going to change. Sorry about you.
Christine, the other thing about this game is that it's just not a game that anyone expected the way that it went. I think everybody thought it was either going to be a really tight, high-scoring game or Clemson was going to win in a rout. I mean, they were a 7-point favorite.
Yeah.
But that was the two basically consensus opinions of how this game was going to go, and it was the third door of Ohio State knocking the doors off of Clemson.
Well, we made our predictions at the beginning, and Coach, I'm the biggest Ohio State fan there is, and I said it was going to be a close game. Can I show you this tweet Whitney Harding just put out there? It is Kerry Combs on the field post game. Let me see if I can take.
He's doing a confetti angel.
He's doing a confetti angel. Hold on. Let me see this.
Good.
Oh man, hold on. Oh guys, don't get mad at me. Here it is.
Wow, that is fantastic.
Isn't that nice?
That is fantastic.
Look at that. That's beautiful.
And
well
just
done. Well deserved.
To go back to one point, since we're talking about carrying the defense,
Yeah.
I mean, again, stopping a guy like Travis Etienne in his tracks from running the football, that's not a small task.
Oh, my gosh.
And they did it continuously, time and time again. That's why Clemson had 400 yards passing, was because they couldn't run the football. 42 yards for the all-time leading rusher in the ACC. I mean, it's almost unthinkable that they allowed less than 50 yards.
Just completely shut him down.
Shut them down.
Shut him down completely.
Yes.
I came into the sports office at the beginning of the game. If you remember, I said, I forgot about this ETN guy. And Jared said, you'll hear a lot from him. And guess what? We did not, actually. So
he was a thorn in their side in the pass game last year. And that's something that Ohio State really did well. They threw a quick screen pass to him at the beginning of the game, and then he was pretty quiet the rest of the way in terms of receiving and running, because last year he had like 90 yards and 2 touchdowns. But this year, they kept him pretty quiet in the pass game.
Yeah, a lot of people are talking about Trey Sermon's having a great game again.
Yeah.
If you guys are just joining us right now, we are recapping the Buckeye game, waiting for head coach Ryan Day to come out. I can hear, I've got my earpiece and I'm listening to the Zoom call. They are celebrating. They're having a good time. They are getting their trophy and dancing in the locker room, I'm sure. So we are just waiting right now for Ryan Day to come out. He will be followed by Justin Fields, offensive MVP of the Sugar Bowl there. So just waiting for that. So, yeah, let's talk about Trey again. I don't think we can talk about him enough. He's my new favorite player. I like him.
I think he's a lot of people's new favorite player.
I think so, too.
Starting with that game against Northwestern, and then today, 191 yards on the ground. And it's not just the amount of yards, right? It's the way that he runs the football. He might be one of the best and most talented guys at the second level, meaning that once he gets past the line of scrimmage, which is something that's made possible by the offensive line, he knows how to run dudes over, run past people, or jump over them if he has to.
Yeah.
He's a guy that can really do it all. Master Teague is more of a physical bowling ball. He's going to punch you and hit you in the mouth kind of running back. Trey Sermon can do that, but he's also pretty elusive. You know, he's a guy that has a lot of agility and knows how to read defenses and when to make a cut. Because sometimes the runs aren't there that are planned. Instead of going in the A or B gap up the middle, he decides to pop it out or go into a different gap. He's got great field vision, a guy that can do anything when he gets to that next level. And if he does get to that next level, this is what happens. 191 yards against Clemson, a team that's top 10 in virtually every category in defense and running.
Yeah, check out this new graphic that ESPN just put out. The stage is set. They've got that nice purple and pink
in Miami.
for Miami.
Yeah.
Stupid COVID, Justin. Miami would have been nice in mid-January. Stupid COVID.
I would have taken that, yeah.
That would have been nice. I would have.
At least they're there. At least they're
Ohio
there.
State is there. We won't be there. I mean, I think I might have paid my own way to go to that one. Just kidding. I would not have. But, yeah, so coming up in here in a few days, all eyes will be on Alabama. Celebrate tonight, and then the focus will be on Alabama. I mean, are the most dominant team in the modern era.
Yeah.
Not even modern era. Just an amazing football team.
In recent history, yeah.
Yeah, in recent history.
They sure are.
It's nerve-wracking to go up against Alabama, but Ohio State said they wanted them, and they got them, and they came out on top tonight over a resounding victory over Clemson. No one can say they didn't earn that every step of the way.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about an Alabama team, too. I mean, just the way that they won their football game today, right? 31-14, and it was never really close against Notre Dame.
No.
It was expected that they would win, but it's one thing to be expected to win and to actually go out and take care of business. And, you know, they've done that every single game this year. They're 12-0, the number one team for a reason. So it's not a matchup that Ohio State is going to take lightly. I can tell you that much. But it's one that they're very much looking forward to.
Absolutely. I haven't seen too much SEC football. Every time they play, we're playing, so I'm really focused on that. Who are the standouts for Alabama? I'm sure there are quite a few. You
got a lot. The running back, Najee Harris, is a very, very powerful running back. He basically hurdled a dude that was standing straight up today.
Saw that.
It's incredible. And then their other guy, you've got Devonta Smith. He's a Heisman finalist as a wide receiver, which is incredibly hard to do.
Yeah.
This is a guy that's basically broken every receiving and touchdown stat possible in the SEC, which the SEC, you know, the guys that they've produced.
Yes.
So Devonta Smith is he is that dude. So Ohio State secondary, which has struggled this year, is going to have to find an answer to a guy like that. And then Mac Jones. I mean, he's a quarterback that is kind of like Joe Burrow in the way that he came up this year. You know, he was under Tua for a while, and Alabama didn't know who was going to be their guy this year. You figured it was going to be Mac Jones, but he's a very, very accurate passer. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. So those are the guys on the offensive side of the ball for Alabama that can give Ohio State some issues come the national championship game.
Yeah, I think I'm starting to see a little bit of movement. If you guys are staying with us, we appreciate it. Now past 12:30 here on January 2nd, Ohio State Sugar Bowl champions for the college football playoff semifinal game, headed to the national championship game January 11th against Alabama in Miami. Right now we are waiting for Ohio State head coach Ryan Day to come out to give his post-game press conference. He will be followed by Sugar Bowl offensive MVP Justin Fields. So we're just waiting for it. I'm excited to hear what these guys have to say.
Any reaction that we're getting here from Buckeye fans? How are they feeling after this
one?
Just
a lot of go Bucks. A lot of people letting us know where they're watching from. We really appreciate it. Joe says, bring on Bama. I'm with you. I love it. I love getting to prove ourselves as Buckeyes here. Just a lot of people.
Everybody jokes we want Bama, and Ohio State's going to get that.
I think a lot of people joke we want Bama, but I'm pretty serious. I feel like Ohio State
fans
they
can
are
handle
pretty serious whenever
they
say
we
that's
want
Bama.
Joke.
So I think a lot of people are really excited to hear what Ryan Day has to say. We normally don't get too many people sticking around this late with us. We got just over 200 people watching with us right now on Facebook alone. So we don't know how many of you are watching on NBC4i.com right now. We appreciate you. We thank you very much for that. So stick around just a little bit longer. I'm starting to see some movement here. I can show you what I'm looking at. It's just a blank wall here where head coach Ryan Day is expected to come out. But of course, he is deservedly celebrating with his team right now. And then Ryan Day will be followed by Justin Fields. What do you think Ryan and Justin are going to have to say?
I think a lot of the questions are going to be geared toward what had happened last year at the beginning of it. And you heard Ryan Day on ESPN, his voice kind of cracked there. I'm not sure if that's because he lost his voice or because he was getting emotional, but they were talking about what Justin Fields has meant to him in the program, and he really couldn't put it into words. And it's hard to do that, right?
Yeah.
A guy that had to leave Georgia, a very talented team that beat Cincinnati today in a close game, left that state, left that team, and came up to Ohio State. And basically, these two guys have come up together. You know, Ryan Day got his start at the same time that Justin Fields did, and they're going to forever be intertwined as head coach and quarterback of what they were able to do at Ohio State and hopefully can do in the national championship against Alabama. But I mean, they're going to talk about what this moment means, enjoying the moment, and how they were able to pick apart Clemson, the number 2 team ranked in the country, and beat them by 3 touchdowns.
Just an overall incredible game. Let's go back to our Facebook comments here. We've got Opal watching from Lubbock, Texas. Hey, Opal, thank you so much for staying up with us late this evening. We are just waiting, like I said, for head coach Ryan Day to come out. I think he probably keeps getting caught up in different hugs and different players and talking to them, if I'm picturing the scene in the locker room correctly there. Justin, who else stood out to you today? Maybe like quietly stood out? Of course, we had Trey and Justin and the defense overall, but who do you think was like the quiet playmaker of the game?
I think Jonathan Cooper had a phenomenal game, defensive end. He got pressure on Lawrence throughout the game. He was right there forcing one of those fumbles. You had Tommy Togai. He obviously played a big part. I think a lot of the guys on the defensive front that were there had a big impact on what happened to Clemson's offense.
Yeah.
And then when you look at the offense, the tight ends, Jeremy Ruckert and you had Luke Farrell, both had really big games. And Ohio State is known for running a 2 tight end set. And most of the times football teams run the football out of that set. Mm-hmm. But Ohio State is not one of those teams. They pass on 42% when they have 2 tight ends. And this year they've kind of gone away from it towards the end of the year, but they brought it back in against Clemson because they saw that there was a vulnerability there. Yeah. And they really exposed that hole in Clemson's game, and they went all in on taking advantage of that. But to answer your question, I'd say the guys on the defensive front really stood out. Jonathan Cooper, namely. Haskell Garrett had a great game. And then on offense, the tight ends, I think those were the X factors that really stood out to me.
And we got to give a shout out. I mean, Justin was, accurate and on point and really smart with his throws, but at some points it seemed like he had all day to throw.
Yeah.
So got to give credit to his offensive line, and I'm sure he will be doing that when he does come out here shortly.
Yeah. And one interesting thing too is last year when Trevor Lawrence came off the field in the postgame press conference and they beat Ohio State, he said, we won, but that was the most physical football game that I ever played in. He got hit 4 times, sacked 3 times, and I think today's game was more physical for him.
Wow.
He just looked uncomfortable, and Ohio State forced 3 different fumbles. They recovered 2 of them, but they also got in his face and made him throw the ball earlier than he wanted to. Case in point, that at the early part of the game when Clemson scored, they came out for their second possession. He missed his tight end over the middle of the field.
Yeah. They
could have gone up 14-0 at that point because Ohio State punted on their first drive. And we could be looking at a different kind of ball game. When you have a momentum of 21-7 or 14-0, it's a whole lot different than a ball game that's 7-7.
Yeah, certainly was. Kind of nerve-wracking there at the beginning. Not nerve-wracking because Ohio, Clemson would score. Ohio State answered back and forth there for a little bit. But that momentum shift in the middle of the game, I don't think we can state it enough, just the toughness of Justin Fields after taking that huge hit to the ribs, missing one play, and then coming back out for that touchdown and just kind of shifting everything in Ohio State's favor.
And we didn't even know if he was going to come back because he threw that touchdown to Olave, and he looked like he was in a lot of pain. And I know all of Ohio State held its collective breath, seeing if he was going to come back on the field, and he did. We'll see if there's anything that comes out of this, if he has to, get looked at, obviously, or what might come out of this. But he looked like he could play the rest of the game, and hopefully come the game against Alabama, he'll be 100%.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Same with Wyatt Davis. He went down for a little bit, but he came back in, so that's good news too.
Yes, very, very good news. I wonder if they'll ask the reporters here. Jared's on the call, of course. I guess we could too, but I'm not going to do that. Oh, well, I guess we'll find out what they're going to ask.
There's
we got
Ryan.
him. Here he is.
All right.
I can take this off. Yeah. What's that?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the All-State Sugar Bowl post-game press conference with Ohio State head coach Ryan Day. Coach Day, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Okay, hold on one second, please. Okay, Coach, if you'll give a brief opening statement, then we'll open the floor to questions. And Coach, go ahead. It's the floor is yours.
Yeah, obviously very, very happy for this team after such a long journey to get here after last season. It's something that weighed heavy on us after this game. So to come full circle against a great team in Clemson, Trevor Lawrence, one of the best quarterbacks to play in the history of college football, and against a great program, to come back and win after last year with all the trials and tribulations we've been through in the last 12 months. Just couldn't be happier for this team. Shows so much character. I got to tell you, it was hard, and this team really showed what they're made of, and it was fun to be out there tonight.
Okay, we'll go first to CL Hall. If you would, identify yourself by name and media outlet first, please.
Hey, Coach. Clay Hall, ABC6 in Columbus. What's sweeter tonight, the breakthrough against Clemson or the chance to play for the title? And what did Dabo say to you, perhaps, as you met at midfield?
Well, coming into this game, after last year, we wanted to come back and have an opportunity to play in the CFP and then go on to have a chance to win the national championship. And that's where we're at right now. Because of the way it all played out, because it was Clemson, just like we played them last year, I think that had a lot of, added flavor to it. And a lot of guys left that field feeling like they let one get away. And so, in life, you don't typically get an opportunity to have a second chance. You can't miss the second time. So, I don't know what we're more excited about, the fact that we have a chance to play for a national championship or the fact that we avenged that loss. But we're going to enjoy it tonight, have a great champions meeting and move on from there. And to answer your second question, Dabo's always been nothing but professional to me. And, said have a great game, go win it all.
Thank you.
Next, we'll shift to Jared Smalley.
Ryan, Jared Smalley, WCMH in Columbus. Ryan, a question about Justin's performance tonight. When obviously he takes that huge hit and he kind of grimaces through the pain, but he also turns out a record-setting performance, 6 touchdowns. Can you just walk us through the conversations you had with him during the game, checking on and making sure he's well, and then the attack mode that he showed, going downfield, keeping Clemson on its heels? Can you run us through his night and the highs and lows of it all?
I think in Justin's career, last year he didn't play in the second half of a lot of games. And then this year we played in 6 games leading up to this game. So, he hadn't played in a lot of big games like this before. So, the Indiana game kind of, bothered him. And then, last week, a lot of people, talking poorly about him, as a quarterback. And that bothered him. He didn't play well in that game, and he knew it. But he learned a lot about himself as a quarterback this week. And he got right back to work. He felt sorry for himself for 24 hours. And, the conversations we had was, you go out and play good in this game and you win this game, nobody's going to remember the Big Ten championship game. They're going to remember this one. And they'll remember it for a long time in the history of Ohio State football. And what does he do? He goes out and throws 6 touchdown passes. He takes a really tough hit. And he just looked at me and I said, how you doing? Are you going to be able to make it? He said, I don't have a choice. I have to. And at that point, we had to kind of figure out what he couldn't do for a little while. And we kind of figured that part of it out. He couldn't do everything, but what a gutsy performance. What a tough and special young man Justin Fields is.
Next, we'll go to Dennis Dodd.
Hey, Ryan, congratulations. Could you tell us how bad the ribs were? Were they sprained? Were they broken? Were they sore? And what kind of treatment did he get at halftime to be able to come back out there?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it was. I said, what happened? He goes, I took a shot and it kind of hurts over here. I said, okay, well, why don't you go get with the doctors and we'll kind of figure that part of it out. I knew he's tough. I will get an assessment here, tonight, maybe into tomorrow, and figure out exactly what it was and what happened. But I really don't know. I just asked, can you do it? He says yes, and we kept rolling from there.
Next, we'll shift to Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Hi, Ryan. Congratulations. I know it's hard in this moment to kind of put perspective on things, but Ohio State had not won a playoff game since 2014. It was Alabama and Clemson that had kind of risen to the top. How big was this for the program to get over this hump, to beat Clemson, and now be able to do what you have a chance to do?
I think it's huge. Now, we still have another game to play, and this thing's not done yet. But I do think this was big for us. This was a statement for us as a program to win a CFP game, especially after what happened last year, and to play the way we did. It means a lot for our program. But we're not done. We got a lot of work to do. Got to get on this film, figure out some things to adjust, because we got a really talented Bama team that we got to go play.
Next up, we'll have a question from Tim May.
Thank you very much. Hey, Ron, I'm going to squeeze 2 in here real quick. Number one, of all the sites you saw from Justin tonight, which is the one that will stick with you? Maybe I'll just leave it at that. But what's the one from your unique vantage point that will stick with you from this performance?
I think it was kind of a blur, but there was a time in there when I guess he came off the injury, went back in, and then threw the touchdown pass. Was it to Ruck maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he was like, I'm like, can you throw? And he says, I think I can. I said, well, here we go. We got to go. You got to give me some information. He said, I think I can do it. And he throws a frozen rope in there, and he's kind of holding himself as he runs off the field. I just thinking to myself, this kid is tough. I mean, he comes back for the Team Up North game last year, from the knee injury. He does it again in this game. So much of being a great quarterback is being tough. And he's tough.
Number 11 ranking. They've only played 6 games. Thing like that.
Next, we'll shift to Nathan Bird with Cleveland.com, and remind everyone, please mute your mic if you don't have the floor.
Extra motivation, extra ways.
Hey, Ryan, you kind of, I think, touched on this a little bit, but when we talked to Justin earlier this week,
hang on one sec. Someone's got to get muted here.
I think it's really important to be gracious in victory and defeat.
I think it's coming in from the other interview.
Dennis, mute.
We good?
Yeah, I think
we're good now.
Okay.
Nathan, are you?
I'm here. I was just saying that when we talked to Justin earlier in the week, he seemed to have kind of a little bit of an edge to him, maybe in a way that we don't usually see from him. What did you kind of get from him just in terms of demeanor and just sort of his conviction or whatever in this last week to 10 days?
Well, he had an edge to him. I mean, this is a competitive guy that has had a lot of success. So to come off of that game, not playing his great game, I mean, that doesn't sit well with him. And he doesn't like, hearing people talk, ill will about him. And so it didn't sit well with him at all. He had an edge to him all week, and that's what great competitors do. So really cool to see.
Next up, we'll have Rob Aller.
Hey, Ryan. Coaches always say they never know what they're going to get till game day, but every facet of your team tonight was on fire. When did you know that was the way it was going to be?
I don't know, maybe midway through, I guess right around the second quarter, I guess. I mean, it wasn't a great start. We went 3 and out, 3 in Gatorade, and they're going right down the field and scoring. So we kind of got some rhythm going. I felt like we had a pretty good rhythm calling the game, kind of caught them off guard, I think, a little bit early on. And then Justin started to get into his rhythm. Certainly got a little concerned when he took that shot. So it was somewhere there, beginning of second, midway through the second. Again, it all becomes a blur to me. But when we probably score, we got into that 21 range right there. The defense started getting some stops. He started to feel like maybe we got a chance to really, roll in this game.
I even meant coming into the game. Did you know sort of that these guys were primed?
No. I mean, you don't know. We hadn't really played a team like Clemson coming in. We hadn't played a lot of games. We hadn't played our best game on offense. We hadn't played our best game on defense. We hadn't played our best game on both sides. So there was a lot of anxiety coming into the game.
Next, we'll go to Austin Ward with Letterman Row.
Ryan, I know everybody on your roster had a unique journey and a lot of adversity, but for Chris Olave, with the way he walked off the field last year, missing the game 2 weeks ago, that has to be special for him and for you to see him do that. How important is he just to the overall success of this team?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that game didn't sit well with him, the way he came off that field. And, how many times did he have to watch that play? He and Justin watched that play over and over again, of the kid Turner getting that touchdown at the end of the game. I mean, it just made him sick. And they're such great competitors that they were hungry, that they wanted to come back and win. And so, we were really nervous that, when he went down with COVID, we weren't going to get him back. He didn't really practice fully. So it was a little dicey going into the week, but started to get his legs back underneath him towards the end of the week, and then comes out and plays the way he does in a big spot. I mean, one of the more clutch players, I think, as a receiver in maybe the history of Ohio State football when you think back on it. And, wow, what a player he is.
Next, we'll shift to Dan Hope with the Urban Warriors.
Ryan, when you consider all the different, aspects of tonight, where does this performance by Justin Fields rank among the quarterback performances you've seen?
As high as I can think of right now. I mean, I'm coming off the game, so I'm a little biased. But for him to come in and play like this against his defense, amazing. He was 22 of 28. A couple of those throwaways, the interception, that was my fault. I should have run the ball. I shouldn't have put him in that spot. 385, 6 touchdowns. Yeah, I don't know if there's a better game, but I'm obviously biased right now coming off the field after the way he played. But I think this performance by not only Justin, but this team hopefully will go down in Ohio State history as a landmark game because, we want to go in and win the national championship. But there was a lot of tough days over the last 6 months. And this team stuck together, and the people of Ohio and Buckeye Nation and all the people who love the Buckeyes, I hope they were able to at least watch the game tonight and get away from what a crazy year this has been and celebrate this game with us, because that's a huge part of why we do what we do, even though we haven't been able to see them. Maybe there's some young kids out there who want to be like Justin Fields and Chris Olave and Tuff Borland and Jonathan Cooper. And that's what this thing's all about.
We have time for 2 more questions. We'll go first to Stephen Hellwagen.
Yeah, Coach, tremendous sentiment right there. And I think a lot of people appreciate that. I want to ask about your defense. In the first half, they gave up the 2 early touchdowns, and then you got one stop after another and kept them at bay, allowed you to build the lead and get the cushion you needed to win this thing.
I thought the game plan was excellent by our defensive staff. I thought our defensive players really spent a lot of time putting it on the field, and they executed at a high level. I thought our D-line was awesome. I thought the plan going in was excellent. That we knew they were going to make plays. We stuck together, though. We didn't flinch when they got a couple of touchdowns, and we just kept going after them. And again, was it perfect? I don't know, but it was gutsy, and they played really good. And we played complimentary football tonight. And when you go up the way we did, kind of you're hanging on a little bit at the end. And I thought what our defense did a good job of it. They didn't give up the big play. They kept it in front. They kept making them go one more play, one more play, one more play. And that's the idea. And I think we learned our lesson from that Indiana game there. And because of that, we were able to play the way we did and finish the game the way it should be.
Our final question for Coach Day will come from Brendan Gulick from Buckeyes Now.
Hey, Coach, I'd like to ask you about Trey Sermon. Obviously, Trey, statistically had another pretty impressive game tonight, but it felt like he really kind of announced his presence when you guys needed a shot in the arm the most. Your first score, it felt like the offense was struggling a little bit at the beginning of the game, and then on a 3-play drive, and 2 of those were big plays by Sermon in particular. Then obviously he went on to have a big game. Just what has Trey Sermon meant to you guys that maybe we haven't been able to see? Because the last 2 games have been pretty special performances from him.
Yeah, I mean, it started in the Michigan State game. That was the first one where he kind of, I guess coming out party is the best way to put it. I think it was where he got his confidence. And then the last 2 games he's been excellent. I mean, he's been a big time back, like a difference maker. He really wasn't early on. I think he was kind of finding his way, but wow. I mean, whether it's in the pass game, whether it's in protection, and obviously running the football, he's been special. And but again, you got to give a lot of credit to our offensive line, our tight ends. There was a point there where we weren't going to run Justin, and the defense knew it. So we weren't getting the extra hat. It was ugly, but we had to make it work. And those guys played good.
Coach Day, congratulations and thank you for your time, and good luck next week.
Thanks, guys.
We will be joined shortly by Ohio State quarterback Justin Fields, and we'll go straight to questions when he sits down.
That was Ohio State head coach Ryan Day. Oh, there's Justin. Never mind.
We're joined now by Ohio State quarterback Justin Fields. Justin, thank you for being with us. Our first question will come from Tony Gerdeman.
Justin, I'm just wondering, how are you feeling right now, and what was it that made you stay in the game, and why?
I mean, my body's pretty beat up right now, but I'm happy, and my teammates are happy, and this is a feeling like no other. So I know my body's gonna be hurt tomorrow morning, but it's worth it for this win and for my teammates. So I think that's really what pushed me. I was just thinking, all the things that we've sacrificed as a team, and that's really what got me through the whole game.
Next, we'll go to Joey Kaufman with the Columbus Dispatch.
Justin, congrats on the win. When you came back in the game after taking the shot to the ribs, at what point did you feel like you were kind of back in the zone or back feeling comfortable again?
I mean, I feel like I was always in the zone, but of course I wasn't really able to run, or it would really hurt every time I threw the ball. So I would just, not really worried about that during the play and just deal with the pain after the throw. So of course, when you're in the play and you're going through your reads and stuff like that, and you're about to throw the ball, you're not worried about your side hurting. You're just playing football. But of course, after each and every throw, my ribs would hurt for sure.
Our next question will come from Bill Landis with the Athletic.
Hey, Justin. I'm wondering maybe what might have been a little more painful for you, the ones where you had to throw the ball down the field to Chris and Jamison, or the one where you really had to put some heat on it to kind of thread the needle there, ruck in the end zone?
Like I said, like during the throw, I feel like it didn't hurt. I didn't feel it. It was just like afterwards. But I mean, really, like even throwing like 10 yards, it would hurt. So, I mean, but it's a game of football we play. I signed up for it, but I'm just glad we got the win.
Our next question will come from Adam Rittenberg from ESPN.com.
Hey, Justin, what did the doctors actually tell you? What the extent of the injury? Was it broken or sprain? I mean, what was the actual
They
diagnosis?
didn't tell me. They didn't really tell me anything. I took like a shot or two in the tent and just ran back out there. But I mean, it's pretty much my whole right torso that's messed up. A little bit of my hip, but they didn't really give me a diagnosis at all.
Next, we'll go to Andrea Adelson.
Justin, you guys look like a completely different team than the one we had seen previously this season. How much did that do? Fact that wanted
You, I think you like broke up a little bit asking the question. So if you could ask that again.
sorry about that. You guys look
There you
like a completely different team than what we had seen previously this season. And I'm wondering how much that had to do with the fact that you all had circled this game and wanted a rematch with Clemson since last year.
Yeah, I just think, everybody doubting us, just pushed us a little more. And like I said earlier in the week, I prepared for this game like I've never prepared for a game before. So I think that showed on the field. And I'm just proud of my brothers, proud of my teammates, and proud of the way they played.
Our next question will come from Lucas Weiss with Last Word on Sports.
Hey, Justin, thank you so much for taking the time. Congratulations on the win. Coach Day was in just a few moments ago and just said how this win will, have a great impact on the program of the people of Ohio, that the young kids will look up to you and say, I want to be like Justin Fields. How do you see your performance having an impact for the people of Ohio who have gone through a lot this year?
I mean, Coach Day, he's a great leader, great coach. He treats me like his own son. There would be no other coach I'd like to play with in the whole country. I mean, he's everything you would want in a coach, everything you would want in a person. And to have him as our leader, it's just makes me a better person, makes everybody on the team a better person. And I think everybody on the team can tell you that. But as far as, being I guess a role model to the kids in Ohio, it's really just, this just shows that anything is possible. And, with God, I just put all my faith and trust in him. So I'm just, just grateful, and I'm blessed.
Next, we'll go to Donnie Woods.
Congrats on your win tonight. You mentioned in the past that last year the game was swung not by the game-ending interception, but the targeting call on your teammate last year. Do you think the targeting call this game was a momentum swing, and what does this win means to you personally?
No, I don't think this game really had, that, of course, turning point. I think, I guess early on, we were both kind of scoring, going back and forth. But I think, just our relentlessness and throughout the whole game, I think that's what pushed us through. And I forgot what your second question was.
What does this win mean to you personally?
I mean, it means a lot, I was really just going out there playing for God and playing for my brothers, not even myself, because Coach Day, he deserves it. Everybody in this program deserves it, just by the way they handle with everything that happened in 2020. And it's definitely a great year to start 2021. So I'm excited.
We'll go next to Mark Russell.
Hey, Justin, can you talk a little bit about how you all signaled in the plays during the game this time? Looked like you did a little more traditional huddle as opposed to what we've normally seen throughout the year. So if you could just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, we just didn't want them stealing our signals, and that's pretty much why we huddled up a little bit more than we usually do. So.
Next up, we'll have Sean Dunnigan with WBNS.
Justin, was there something you guys saw that got the tight ends open when you were game planning for this game?
No, not really. I think, throughout the year, I've missed the tight ends a lot on a lot of plays. So it was pretty much just going back to the basics and, seeing the plays that they were open on and kind of utilizing those guys more. I mean, those are the two of the best tight ends in the country, and I'm just glad we finally got to use them.
Next, we'll go back to Austin Ward with Letterman Row.
Justin, we've all watched Chris Olave for a long time. We know how important he is to your team, but getting him back, the motivation that he had for this one, evaluate how great he played tonight and how much more comfortable you are when he's out there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very comfortable with Chris out there, and of course he had a hell of a game. And we were just talking about all week how this game can make a everlasting impact, and this game controls our legacy. So we stayed out at practice and threw routes on that one rollout touchdown. We probably went over that about 20 times at the practice one day. So we knew that was a call that we're going to get in the red zone, and we executed it well. So I'm just proud of Chris and the way he played tonight.
We have time for two more questions. The first will come from Jared Smalley.
Justin, I'm purely curious about before the game. Obviously, you were so focused on the work you had to do. Did you all even know that Alabama won the first game? And I'm just curious, your first reaction. You know exactly who they are. You know a lot of the guys. I would imagine. Mm-hmm. I would imagine that's a fairly exciting opportunity on the 11th. But did you all have any knowledge that they had actually won and how they played?
No, we saw. I think we were watching it the first quarter before we came to the stadium, but I had no idea that they won. It's not really surprising that they won. They've been playing really well this year, and they have a lot of great athletes, great coaches. So, yeah, I'm just excited to get the opportunity to play them.
Our final question for Justin will come from Dan Hope with 11 Warriors.
Hey, Justin, Coach Day said he thought you had a different edge these past couple of weeks after, some of the people were criticizing the way you played against Northwestern. Did you feel that in yourself, that you had a different edge these past 2 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely felt it. And, I think, that game happened for a reason. Like I said earlier in the week, it just made me prepare more and prepare like I've never prepared before. So I definitely had an edge, playing this game and preparing for this game every day at practice. So I'm just, again, proud of my teammates, proud of my coaches, and just happy to be here.
Justin, thank you for your time. Congratulations on the win, and good luck next week.
Thank you.
All right, that was the Ohio State post-game press conference there. Ohio State head coach Ryan Day taking the podium, as well as the offensive MVP of the Sugar Bowl, Justin Fields, quarterback number 1. Amazing game. Justin, celebrate tonight.
Celebrate tonight, and then it's time for Alabama.
Yeah. All right, guys, that is all for us this evening. If you are still with us, we really appreciate you being here. We are jazzed up and ready to go. January 11th will be the
in Miami.
In Miami. God, I wish we could go.
On a very completely unrelated note, Ohio State opens as a 7-point underdog, and tonight they were a 7-point dog against Clemson and won by 21. So don't always look at the spread.
Copy and paste. I like that. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. If you want to rewatch the full post-game press conferences as well as the post-game show, you can here shortly. I'll clip it and put it up on NBC4i.com. If you're watching on Facebook, you can click the link in the description of this video to see that. And if you are watching on NBC4i.com, we appreciate you, and you can scroll down to read more about Ohio State's big win over Clemson tonight. Have a good evening, everybody. We'll see you later.